Jack Carter is a tough and merciless gangster from London. After hearing about the suspicious death of his brother, he travels back to his hometown, Newcastle, to find out what really happened. As Jack digs deeper into the city's dark underworld, he discovers secrets that involve crime, corruption, and betrayal. Along the way, he faces dangerous enemies who will stop at nothing to protect their own interests. Jack's desire for revenge pushes him through a rough and violent journey, with each step bringing him closer to the truth. The movie starts with a man named Jack Carter sitting with a group of gangsters, all of them focused on watching some pictures in a film. As the scene unfolds, we learn that Jack Carter, originally from Newcastle, has spent many years living in London. During his time there, he worked for powerful crime bosses, Gerald and Sid Fletcher, who control organized crime in the city. Jack seems to have built a life for himself in London, but the images they are watching suggest something more personal is about to pull him back to his roots in Newcastle. Jack decides to head north to Newcastle, but his crime bosses, Gerald and Sid, warn him not to go. They worry that his presence there could damage their reputation. Gerald, suspicious of Jack's motives, asks why he's so determined to go. Jack calmly explains that he needs to find out the truth behind his brother Frank's death, as he believes Frank was murdered. Secretly, Jack is also having an affair with Gerald's girlfriend, Anna, and they have plans to run away together to South America. However, before Jack can make his escape, he feels he must first return to Newcastle and Gateshead for his brother Frank's funeral. Frank supposedly died in a drunk driving accident, but Jack isn't convinced and is determined to uncover what really happened. In the next scene, Jack is shown on a train heading north, sitting quietly in a cabin with a few other men beside him. His mind seems focused on the task ahead as the train speeds toward Newcastle. When he arrives, Jack goes straight to a local pub. He sits at the bar, orders a glass of whiskey, and takes a moment to gather his thoughts. While at the pub, Jack receives a phone call from his brother's wife, Margaret. She seems distant, and Jack asks her why she hasn't arrived yet. Margaret explains that she will meet him the next day. After the call, Jack leaves the pub and rents a room at a local woman's house. He hands her some extra cash, ensuring his stay will be private and undisturbed. With his lodging arranged, Jack makes his way to see his brother, Frank, whose lifeless body lies in a coffin. Jack gazes at his brother, and the weight of his mission becomes even more personal as he stands alone in the cold reality of Frank's death. At Frank's funeral, Jack meets his teenage niece, Doreen, and Frank's mistress, Margaret, who seems evasive and distant. As the service wraps up, Jack approaches Doreen, offering to take her with him, but she declines, saying she's staying with a friend. Jack then tries to get Margaret to talk about Frank's death, but she brushes him off, saying she's too busy and will meet him the next day. Later, Jack heads to a bar with Doreen and a few of Frank's old friends. As they sit around drinking, the conversation turns to Frank's sudden death. His friends are surprised to hear that Frank was supposedly drunk when he died, as he was never known to drink heavily. This raises suspicion, and some suggest that maybe Frank was killed. However, Doreen gets mad at the comments being made about her dad and leaves. Jack's search for answers leads him to a man named Keith, who works at a local club. Jack asks Keith about someone named Albert Swift, hoping to gather more information about his brother's death. Keith tells him that Albert can usually be found at the races. Determined to find Albert, Jack heads to the Newcastle racecourse. However, when Jack arrives, Albert spots him from a distance and quickly evades him before Jack can confront him. Frustrated, Jack runs into another old associate, Eric Pace, a man with a shady past. Jack questions Eric, asking him who he's working for as a chauffeur, but Eric is tight-lipped, refusing to reveal his employer's identity. Jack then presses Eric for information on Albert Swift, but Eric denies knowing anything about him, leaving Jack even more suspicious and determined to uncover the truth. After growing suspicious of Eric, Jack decides to follow him to uncover who he's really working for. He tails Eric, keeping a low profile, and the trail leads him to a luxurious country house belonging to Cyril Kinnear, a notorious crime boss. Determined to get some answers, Jack sneaks onto Kinnear's property. He stealthily approaches one of the guards, knocking him out with a wooden log to avoid detection. However, despite his efforts, Kinnear's men quickly notice him and begin following Jack as he makes his way into the house. Undeterred, Jack pushes forward. The moment the men inform Kinnear of the intruder, Jack bursts into the room where Kinnear is casually playing poker, ready to confront the crime boss face to face. Kinnear greets Jack calmly and even invites him to sit down at the table with the other men. As they talk, Jack notices a glamorous but clearly drunk woman named Glenda, who is also present in the room. Glenda strikes up a conversation with Jack, asking if he knows a man named Sid Fletcher. Jack responds that he works for Sid. Intrigued, Glenda reveals that she also knows Sid. She mentions that Sid had come to Kinnear's estate last year for some business, staying for a couple of days. This information makes Jack even more curious, realizing that Sid might have connections to Kinnear and possibly be involved in what happened to his brother. As Glenda casually shares details, Jack begins piecing together more clues, but he remains cautious, knowing that he's in dangerous territory. As Jack gets ready to leave Kinnear's house, Eric pulls him aside, warning him not to stir up trouble between Kinnear and the Fletcher brothers. The warning makes it clear that there are powerful connections at play that Jack must be careful about. Still determined, Jack heads to a local junkyard where he finds his brother Frank's car. The workers there inform him that the car was pulled from a river and is completely ruined, no longer functional. This further confirms Jack's suspicions that Frank's death wasn't as simple as a drunk driving accident. Later that night, Jack decides to unwind at a nearby club. After spending some time there, he leaves and unexpectedly spots his niece Doreen in a restaurant with her friend. Concerned, Jack approaches her and once again asks if she'll come with him. Doreen, however, insists that she's staying in town. Accepting her decision, Jack hands her some money, telling her to take care of herself and to be good. Back at his hotel, Jack makes a call to Anna, letting her know how much he misses her and reassuring her that he'll be returning soon. His mind is occupied with thoughts of their escape, hoping that things will settle down before he can leave. However, his plans are interrupted when a group of henchmen arrive, threatening him and demanding that he leave town. Jack isn't easily intimidated. He fights back fiercely, managing to subdue and capture one of the attackers. Determined to get answers, Jack interrogates the captured henchman, pressing him for information about who wants him out of town. The henchman reveals a crucial detail, the name Brumby. Jack recalls that Cliff Brumby is a businessman with significant control over local seaside amusement arcades. Determined to follow up on the lead, Jack visits Brumby's house. However, Brumby claims to know nothing about Jack or any threats against him. Realizing he may have been misled, Jack decides to leave. When Jack returns to his hotel, he discovers that the henchmen who had previously threatened him have come back. They've taken their injured friend and have also assaulted the hotel's owner. To make matters worse, Jack's companion, Thorpe, has been captured along with them. The situation escalates quickly, and the house owner threatens to call the police. Desperate to keep the situation under control and to prevent further complications, Jack uses his charm to persuade the house owner. He manages to convince her not to call the police and ends up spending the night with her, ensuring she stays silent about the recent events. The next morning, Jack's London colleagues, Con McCarthy and Peter the Dutchman, arrive, sent by the Fletchers to bring him back. Jack manages to evade them, slipping away before they can catch him. Determined to learn more about his brother's death, Jack arranges to meet Margaret to discuss Frank. However, he soon discovers that the Fletchers' men are lying in wait and begin to pursue him. Just as Jack is about to be caught, Glenda swoops in to rescue him. She drives him in her sleek sports car to meet Brumby at his new restaurant development, located on the top of a multi-story car park. At the meeting, Brumby reveals that Cyril Kinnear is behind Frank's death and is also trying to take over Brumby's business. Brumby offers Jack £5,000 to kill Kinnear in exchange for his help. Despite the tempting offer, Jack flatly refuses, determined to handle the situation on his own terms. Jack spends the evening with Glenda at her flat, where their encounter turns intimate. During their time together, Jack stumbles upon a disturbing pornographic film that Glenda has, which features a scene where she tries to trap Doreen. In the film, Doreen is coerced into making out with Albert Swift. Jack is further shocked to see Margaret also appearing in the film, realizing the depth of her involvement in the conspiracy. Overcome with anger and betrayal, Jack reacts violently. He drags Glenda to the bathroom, pushing her head underwater while she's in the bath. As she struggles for air, Glenda gasps that the film belongs to Kinnear and that she suspects Eric was the one who pulled Doreen into this mess. Furious and determined, Jack forces Glenda into the trunk of her car and drives off, determined to find Albert. After this, Jack tracks Albert to a local betting shop, where he finds him amid the clatter of gambling machines and murmured bets. Jack confronts Albert, who, under pressure, confesses that he told Brumby about Doreen being Frank's daughter. Jack realizes that this revelation was part of a larger scheme, as Brumby had used the compromising film to provoke Frank into calling the police on Kinnear. Albert also reveals that Eric and two of his men were behind the plan to have Frank killed. Fury over the betrayal and the gravity of the revelation fuels Jack's rage. Without hesitation, he pulls out a knife and fatally stabs Albert, ensuring that he won't live to cause any more trouble. After getting the crucial information he needs, Jack leaves Albert bleeding and dying in the betting shop, walking away with grim satisfaction and a sense of finality. Shortly after Albert's death, Jack is ambushed once again by the London gangsters. During the confrontation, Eric reveals that he has informed Fletcher about Jack's affair with Anna, adding another layer of danger to Jack's predicament. The situation quickly escalates into a violent shootout, during which Jack shoots Peter dead, eliminating one of his immediate threats. As Eric and Con make their escape, they push Glenda's sports car into the river with Glenda trapped inside. Jack watches coldly as the car sinks, and Glenda drowns, unable to escape her grim fate. Returning to the car park, Jack confronts Brumby. In a brutal attack, he beats Brumby senseless before throwing him off the edge to his death, ensuring that Brumby meets a fitting end for his role in the conspiracy. In a final act of retribution, Jack sends the incriminating pornographic film to the Vice Squad at Scotland Yard in London. This move ensures that the truth about the corruption and betrayal will be exposed. After this, Jack meticulously tracks down Margaret, who is out with a friend at a local cafe. Once they part ways, Jack follows Margaret discreetly to her home. He waits until she is alone, then confronts her at gunpoint, forcing her into his car. He calls Kinnear, who is in the middle of a raucous party, surrounded by guests and loud music. Jack informs him that he has an incriminating film that could ruin Kinnear's reputation and disrupt his criminal operations. He proposes a deal. In exchange for his silence about the film, Kinnear must ensure Eric's safety and deliver him to a designated location. Kinnear, realizing the gravity of the situation, agrees to the deal. He arranges for Eric to be sent to the agreed spot. However, Kinnear, ever the schemer, also contacts a hitman, instructing him to eliminate Jack once Eric is dealt with, ensuring that Jack won't be able to expose the film or cause any further trouble. With this plan in motion, Jack drives Margaret to the grounds of Kinnear's sprawling estate, where he forces her to disrobe and then administers a fatal injection. He leaves her lifeless body behind, ensuring it is discovered by the estate's security. Jack then makes a strategic call to the police, tipping them off to raid Kinnear's party. Jack drives Margaret to the grounds of Kinnear's estate. There, he forces her to strip off her clothes and then administers a fatal injection, killing her. He then takes her body to Kinnear's property and dumps it in a pool. Leaving her body behind, Jack then makes a call to the police, tipping them off to raid Kinnear's party. After taking his revenge on Margaret, Jack chases Eric down a lonely beach, driven by his need for payback. When he finally catches up to Eric, he forces him to drink an entire bottle of whiskey, just like what happened to his brother Frank. Once Eric is drunk and weak, Jack violently beats him to death with his shotgun, making sure Eric cannot escape his fate. As Jack walks along the beach, reflecting on the violence he has caused, he is suddenly shot in the head by a sniper rifle. The hitman, known only as Jay, was introduced earlier in the film during Jack's train ride to Newcastle. With Jack's story ending in this dramatic way, the movie closes, showing the heavy price of his quest for vengeance. If you enjoyed this intense and gripping film recap, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content and updates. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.